that's another fantastic legacy that we're getting to enjoy now, going all the way back to, riparian creeks and property values and property rights and water rights and all of those things. Really exciting. So I think just going back to the initiation and the foundation of the winery, those are the things that led up to, in my experience, led up to that. I'm sure Laura can add a lot more to that, because she was there, as we say, we were the Jacksons of all trades. We had to do what was necessary to get it off the ground. And so Laura really, she was the first person running the office in terms of accounts payable and receivable. We had other professionals working there.
She's employee number one, wasn't she?
She was the first employee in 1980, and I think she didn't get a paycheck either. She just got a room and board, Just like I didn't know his paycheck was going to my law school tuition. But she started out, and we started with first the basement of our family home, which was sizable. It was, I don't know, about a 5,000 square foot home, maybe larger, 3 stories, including the basement, and beautiful, almost acre lot, 3/4 of an acre with beautiful oak trees, and just a fantastic place to start a business, at the ground floor. And then finally just sold his law office to build the winery. And so we got a loan. I went with him in, it had to be 83. I went with him to his first meeting with Bank of America to get our first line of credit to fund the winery and move forward in our sales and marketing plan. And the sale of his wine, his law office, the sale of our home, the sale of 2 or 3 other buildings went into that foundation, line of credit and all of that. So we ended up with an office in Burlingame first, and then over in Sausalito. Just got an amazing place over in Sausalito. Great view of the bay, of Angel Island and Tiburon and the city and San Francisco, and that's where we commuted to work, Laura and I.
It was basically a residential flat where they
converted it into offices.
Yeah, like 5 people.
It was a 4-story brown shingle, still there, and they rent out each floor as an office or.
So it's like 7 card tables unfolded in residential units.
Those were our tables. I hang on to our kitchen table because that was my mom and dad's first legal, office desk. Was this beautiful glass table, brass and glass. And it's nothing to write home about. It wasn't
70s.
Super expensive or anything. It is very 70s. But I keep that in our home. That's our kitchen table. And I have a hard time giving that up. But our family went on to have that office. And then Dawn and Jess and Barbara opened their law office. Jess talked Dawn into coming to work for him for contingency fees and a base salary that was 1/4 of what he was earning at a labor law practice down in San Jose. His first law school job, he graduated law school, I think number 13 in our class. He was number 3 the year he met me, number 10 the second year. And I give myself credit for that.
It was pretty distracting.
He was a great teacher. He was a teacher before he went to law school, and he was a great, he tutored me through a lot of really obtuse classes that I didn't enjoy, like contract law was taught by one of our Jesuit priests, and he was very dry and very square, and I just couldn't wrap my head around some of the concepts the way he taught. So Dawn basically graduated first in the class, and I graduated somewhere in the middle, successful, but not towering over any kind of academic standards. So we did quite well in law school, and Dawn went on to practice law for a firm about 1.5 years at Littler Mendelsohn.
Years, yeah.
And then Jess convinced him to come work. And Dawn tells the story.
I don't know what
You tell the story that you knew that if you didn't, because by then my dad had roped me into working for the winery, and I never passed the bar exam. I just went to work for the winery. I didn't practice law. So Don tells the story, and what he told our son a year ago or whatever was that he knew if he didn't work for Jess that he'd never see me again, because I'd be so busy working in the wine business. We wouldn't see each other anymore. So
It pretty much worked out that way. I think it was like Jess could eat your life up. You would, it was
you know that, right, Caroline?
It was typical.
It's all consuming.
Especially in the early days, he didn't really slow down much over time, but he, we would have meetings that start at 8 in the morning, sometimes like in his house at Tiburon with, the 10 people who worked for him sitting around in the basement looking at a beautiful view. But we'd be there from 8 in the morning until 10 at night sometimes. He'd bring sandwiches in twice, and that was a typical day with him. And he was just that. He just ate your life up, and he was that driven. But maybe you should tell Honey about the next step, though, kind of as you ended up working in marketing and sales. And
right. So fast forward to the Sausalito office and the law office in San Francisco, and Jess would divide his time between the two offices, and eventually consolidated the office all over where the law office was, because there were so many people working for us at that point. We couldn't fit them all into this tiny little flat, with 3 rooms and 8 card tables and a few desks. So we ended up just marketing. The marketing plan was just shoe leather. Burning shoe leather, and just the story is told, I'm sure better than I can tell it in the book that was written about him, but basically he was traveling with our then top VP of sales, Dennis Canning, all around the US. He was coming to New York selling wine door to door, and about 1983, our 82 Vintners Reserve won the platinum medal with the American Wine Competition, and that got some notice. It especially got notice in Herb Cain's article in San Francisco with the Chronicle, famous columnist, and he talked about how the Reagans in the governor's office had been buying Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve. It was Nancy's favorite wine. And he wrote about it, how it had received this great accolade, this American Wine Competition, double platinum award. And so that just kind of set off our sales meteoric. And so I was traveling about 1 to 2 weeks out of every month, and Jess was traveling when he wasn't in the legal, and he was probably traveling more than, you probably saw him less at that point in the law practice, you and Barbara and your whole staff. Yeah. Then we got to see him more in the wine business at that point, because he was trying to launch our brand, and it was teetering, because we were not yet launched. We were not yet an established winery, and we were very small, like 20,000 cases to start with, and moving up. It was a huge goal to be moving to 80,000 cases. That was like inconceivable to all of us. And then trying to grape source, get the vineyards. I was with him when he met the man who was in charge of selling Tepesquet vineyards, and just got the first right of refusal. I was in the meeting at this man's home in Hillsborough. I believe his name is Al Gagnon, and went on from there, having the first right of refusal, and acquiring this fantastic property, Tepesquet, down in Santa Maria. He later was able to negotiate that with Barbara's help. They negotiated with Mondavi to make that purchase, because they had the right of first refusal.
Well, we had on half of it, and Mondavi did on the other half, I guess.
Right.
That's what happened, yeah.
Right. So that's what we ended up doing, is
So
dividing it.
Finding the source, purchasing those vineyards,
That's-
a key element from the very, very beginning.
Right. He was sourcing fruit from all over the state. Nobody was doing that. Everybody was focusing on Appalachian marketing, and because the Vintners Reserve was a blend, maybe 50% from Tabasco, and another 20% from Sonoma, 10% from Napa fruit, 5 or 10% from Lake County or Mendocino County. He was, and Monterey was a percentage in there too. So it was kind of all divided up, and we ended up finding and having the opportunity, because of his fantastic real estate background, and he and Barbara and Don were all very savvy that way in making a lot of those purchases. They were able to negotiate real estate deals, really amazing deals that we were able to get with this amazing fruit that we were able to secure as part of our foundation of the Vintners Reserve Cuvée. So we ended up with probably most of his time, I'd say, if he divided his time 50-50 with the law practice, which is probably an exaggeration on the law side,